everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Gavin Boyne, and today, as part of a series of Students for Life interviews, I'm going to be talking to Críostíona Ní Laimhín about why she is pro-life. So, Críostíona, lockdown, how are you keeping?
As well as can be expected, I suppose. I mean, it is really tough, like staying away from everyone and not being able to be up in Dublin with my family and friends. But I'm trying to use the time as well as possible, watching a lot of Netflix. But yeah, it's going okay.
Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. My name is Críostíona Ní Laimhín. I'm 23 years old and I am from a very small town in County Mayo. I will hopefully have graduated DCU this year with a degree in primary school teaching, pending on results. We shall see. And yeah, my not so secret dream is to be a writer. I would love to someday be as famous as J.K. Rowling or someone like that.
Very good. Bit of ambition's not never bad. What made you interested in becoming a teacher?
I suppose like I come from a really long line of teachers. My parents are teachers, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins. So growing up, that really helped because I could see what the job involved and if I would actually really like it or not. And then on top of that, I love learning. And I've always loved learning, and I would love to ideally pass that on to other students and help them feel the same way, I suppose.
Okay, to get straight to the point then, why are you pro-life?
Well, there's so many reasons, but I suppose the main one would be that my brother, my younger brother, he has very severe special needs, and when he was younger, doctors had said to us, like kind of give up. He's not going to live till he's 7, and
Oh,
like he's
wow.
not going to have any quality of life. So my parents thankfully didn't give up though, and he's now 20, almost 22 and has an amazing life. Sometimes I'm very jealous of him. He loves Real Madrid. He loves Marvel movies. He goes for walks down to the river almost every day. Loves playing poker. He ruins us all every time we play poker here on family game night. And that I suppose really taught me like seeing the contrast of that, like that you can't really ever judge the quality of someone's life and whether it's worth living, and that we should do everything we can to make sure that everyone gets the chance to live their life. But then on top of that, my family would have helped several women in crisis pregnancies when I was younger, and that really made it real for me, just what like a woman in a crisis pregnancy feels and why they feel like they need to choose to have an abortion, and just how trapped they feel and how scared they are, and just how important that support and having like real authentic support is to women in those crisis pregnancies, and that we really need to do as much as we can to help them.
Yeah, so given your experiences growing up and with your brother, what does being pro-life mean to you, and kind of what does that look like when put into action?
Yeah, like big picture, it's really kind of the basic of like valuing all human life, no matter what that looks like, and helping people live their lives as best they can. In more practical terms, then I suppose that does turn into in today's society, supporting women in crisis pregnancies and families in crises, I suppose, and anyone that's vulnerable, and trying to protect them and help them. And there's so many opportunities to actually do that as well. Like you have Hughes House up in Dublin who helps families whose kids are in hospital, and then you have like Community Connect, which is reaching out to people in different communities. Then like there's also just like the practicals of like fundraising for women in crisis pregnancies and running baby drives so that those women have the basics of nappies and buggies and clothes for their children. There's so many different ways you can. There's also the information side of it where you talk to people. It sounds more bigger than it is, but yeah, just talking to people, talking to politicians to make sure that they're aware of the pro-life issues that are out there, the ways that they can get involved, and kind of highlighting the misinformation that's out there as well to make sure that they do actually know the truth about the situation here in Ireland.
Mm. So, as you said, hopefully you have graduated. What was your pro-life university experience like when you were still in university? Did you get up to much on campus? Was there a group?
Yeah, I loved it. I feel like I was most active in pro-life stuff when I was in college. I volunteered and worked for different pro-life groups, and there were so many different events on, and like Students for Life helped a lot in that, in creating all these different events too. And I remember we ran one event called I'm Pro-Life, Ask Me Why, which was actually my favorite because what it was literally just standing, me and my friends stood with a sign saying I'm pro-life, ask me why, outside the library on the Glasnevin campus. And it was just an amazing experience because rather than kind of like sitting in a room arguing these things, you're just out there putting yourself out there saying, listen, I'm pro-life, I want to talk about it. And I was amazed. Like at first I was worried. I was like, oh, people will scream at us or like they just won't come up at all. But it was amazing that when it became like that they were allowed to ask us why we were pro-life, how many people were curious about why, and we had conversations with so many different people who were on all sides of the spectrum. They were pro-choice, they're pro-life, they didn't even know what abortion or the pro-life issue was. Like it was just really great, and that reflected in my kind of everyday conversations as well. Like a lot of my friends, when they saw that I was getting involved in all these things through Facebook, they started asking me questions like, why are you pro-life? I thought only insane people are pro-life, that kind of thing. And that was really interesting because I remember I had one pro-choice friend, well, several, but one in particular say to me that, before she knew me, she thought that all pro-life people were insane, but talking to me and knowing me as a friend and then talking to me about the issue made her realize that it wasn't an insane opinion to have, and that it actually made sense, and that we both cared for women and that we both wanted the best for them. And she came away from that conversation really enlightened as to what being pro-life really was.
I find that really interesting because there's this kind of perception out there and view that pro-life people, we're all ancient, we're extremely hostile, we hate women, we want to control women. Yet here we have a pro-choice friend of yours espousing literally the exact opposite of that perception. Why do you think that there is that perception out there, and why do you think that kind of the media seems insistent on pushing that narrative?
Yeah, it's really hard to say, but I suppose like there are always going to be extremes on any side of an argument, on both sides of an argument, and they're definitely not the majority of the people, but they are there. And I suppose maybe those people are more newsworthy, they get the clicks and all that kind of thing, get the views. But it is really sad because like if you pigeonhole someone, if you pigeonhole the movement, and you don't actually see the people that are involved in it, it's really easy to dismiss it. And like my friend did, think that they were insane and therefore never talk about it and never consider that there's another option. But yeah, it is really sad because at the end of the day, like what pro-life people want to do is create a society that protects the vulnerable. And like you can see that now with the current lockdown and the COVID-19 crisis. Like we as a society are banding together to protect the most vulnerable, to look after people, to make sure that they're not sick, to make sure that they can live. And that's what pro-life people want to do. They just want to do it in a different situation. And I think, it would be amazing. This is probably the idealist in me, but like imagine if the government had the same response to crisis pregnancies as they did to COVID-19.
Yeah.
They actually reacted that way, asked us to band together, asked us to support women, put legislation in place within hours to support women. Like it would be amazing. We'd have a society where like abortion just wouldn't even be needed because it isn't needed anyways, but like that it wouldn't even be considered because women would be able to live their lives and have kids like they should be able to do, and it shouldn't be like a death sentence to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Críostíona, that's the end. Thank you very much for coming on to tell us your story as to why you are pro-life. It's been really informative. We're going to be hearing from a lot of different members of Students for Life over the coming weeks who, they all have their own unique stories as to why they're pro-life and their own kind of unique backgrounds. So I hope you'll join us next time for another great discussion. Thank you.